Joe Wright. No more shit managers. 7 steps to a coaching culture. We've all had that manager, the one who doesn't listen, doesn't develop their team, and drains motivation from every meeting. Poor management isn't rare. It's one of the biggest reasons people leave jobs, stop contributing, or give up caring. And yet, the expectations placed on managers keep growing. Lead the team, hit the targets, resolve conflicts, support well-being. But without the right mindset or skills, many managers fall short, and workplace culture pays the price. That's where coaching comes in. At its heart, coaching is about asking better questions, listening deeply, and building trust. It helps people grow, stay accountable, and do work that matters. But turning coaching into a core part of your culture doesn't happen by accident. It takes structure, clarity, and real commitment from the top. In this Blink, you'll learn about a 7-step framework designed to help organizations move from a culture of control and frustration to one built on trust, clarity, and better conversations. This structured approach shows how to rethink leadership, relationships, and growth in a way that actually sticks. Beginning with an honest understanding of your current culture and ending with lasting, visible change. The first step is getting clear on what your culture feels like now, to shape where it's going. Define the future before you build it. A culture won't change just because someone writes a vision statement. To change how people behave at work, especially around leadership and communication, you need to start by helping decision-makers actually feel the difference between where they are and where they want to be. Step 1 is about getting clarity, and that begins by asking the right questions. Before anything can be visualized, you need to know what you're working with. That means getting honest answers to what it really feels like to work in your organization right now. What behaviors are normal? What do people avoid saying? How much do they trust their managers? You won't find this in a dashboard. The best place to start is listening through group conversations, one-on-one discussions, or simple observational work. Metrics like turnover, absence, and feedback can support what you hear, but the goal is to understand the emotional climate, not just the numbers. Take the case of the Institute of Occupational Medicine. Faced with low trust, no succession planning, and a stagnating culture, their Director of Performance, Culture, and Delivery, Michelle Reed, recognized the urgent need for change. She began by collecting honest feedback from staff and sharing it directly with the board, sparking uncomfortable but necessary conversations. Rather than jumping to quick fixes, Reed took a different approach. She asked leaders to imagine a future in which they'd earned a coaching award and were hearing praise from both employees and clients. This shift, from raw data to a vivid emotional vision, helped board members connect with the goal on a personal level. That emotional resonance sparked genuine commitment and laid the groundwork for real, lasting transformation. This kind of process moves thinking from the abstract to the concrete. It creates emotional engagement and invites creative problem-solving. And when leaders experience this shift themselves, they're more likely to support and model it for others. Once that emotional connection is in place, the conversation naturally evolves. What would it take to make this vision a reality? That's where strategy begins. Build a strategy that people can actually use. Once the destination is clear, step 2 is about deciding how to get there. This is where many organizations fall into trouble. They mistake activity for progress. Without a clear strategy, change efforts drift, leadership messages conflict, and people quietly stop paying attention. A strategy for building a coaching culture needs to be both ambitious and believable. Most of all, it needs to make sense to the people expected to deliver it. This step is about connecting the dots between vision and behavior. That means defining what success looks like in a way that goes beyond numbers. It needs to reflect how people will act differently and what kind of working environment you're building. If the vision gives people direction, the strategy gives them traction. One practical approach is mapping a simple from to model. Start by naming the behaviors, mindsets, or conditions you want to leave behind, and what you want instead. The more real it feels, the more useful it becomes. That's exactly what the housing association, Silva Homes, did. They brought their strategy to life by involving leadership in translating company values into day-to-day actions. When one executive initially pushed back, it forced a deeper look into what the values actually meant and how they were being lived, or ignored. That confrontation turned out to be one of the most useful parts of the process, because it helped turn abstract ideas into shared commitments. This stage is about making sure your plan feels credible, that it matches what people already know about the company, and that it can be tested and refined. Once your strategy is clear and aligned with reality, you can start bringing people into it. And that's where the next step, engaging the wider organization, comes in. Get people talking about why it matters. Even the best strategy can fall flat if nobody connects with it. Step 3 is about building energy and buy-in across the organization, making space for people to talk about what the change means for them. Because when people don't feel informed, involved, or inspired, they don't resist. They disconnect. That's how you end up with workplaces full of people who aren't exactly unhappy, but aren't fully present either. They're just going through the motions, half in, half out. The mistake many leaders make is jumping straight from planning to rollout. Decisions are made behind closed doors, and before anyone's had a chance to ask a question, an email appears in their inbox or a training invite drops into their calendar. And then people are surprised when no one's enthusiastic. If the goal is to create a coaching culture, communication has to feel different from the start. That means clear, honest messages, repeated often and adapted for different audiences. But more importantly, it means two-way conversation, giving people a chance to reflect, respond, and contribute. The most effective approach is structured and human. Build a real engagement plan that combines formal communication with informal conversation. Ask managers to sit down with their teams to have open discussions. Use workshops, one-on-ones, and team meetings to ask questions that get people thinking. What does this change mean for you? What's exciting, what's worrying, and what support do you need? To keep momentum going, recruit coaching champions. People who are genuinely enthusiastic and want to help spread the message. Support them, connect them to senior sponsors, and give them real visibility. Over time, the message will shift from being pushed out to being pulled in, because people will want to be part of what's happening. And once that interest is sparked, it's time to focus on growing the skills to act on it. Build the confidence to coach effectively. The enthusiasm created by strong communication won't last if people don't feel ready to do anything with it. That's why step 4 is about growing capability. If you want a coaching culture to thrive, the people inside it need to know what coaching actually looks like, and more importantly, how to do it well. You don't have to turn managers into professional coaches. It's about helping them grow the practical skills and confidence to have better conversations. Too often, leadership development is abstract. People sit through training and leave without knowing how to apply what they've learned. What works better is experience-based learning, where people practice real conversations and reflect on what it feels like to coach rather than command. That means less theory, more listening, more asking questions, and more building trust through small, consistent behavior shifts. One company that embraced this approach successfully was the IT firm Kainos. Instead of relying on one-off workshops or surface-level modules, they committed to a longer-term strategy. Leaders were given the time and space to build coaching habits gradually, with an emphasis on curiosity, active listening, and stronger relationships. The result wasn't just improved skills, it was a noticeable boost in team engagement and trust. The key takeaway: make learning bite-sized and relevant. Not everyone starts at the same level, and that's okay. What matters is creating opportunities for people to practice, reflect, and see their progress. It also helps to establish a shared language around coaching, so teams can align on what good looks like and support each other in getting there. As people begin to apply these skills in real conversations, something meaningful happens. The culture starts to shift, and that shift lays the essential foundation for the next phase, rethinking how performance itself is managed. Make space for coaching to become the norm. After people start building their skills, the next challenge is creating the conditions for those skills to be used consistently. Step 5 is about removing the friction. Coaching doesn't thrive in an environment where everyone is overloaded, racing through tasks, or stuck in rigid routines. For meaningful change to take hold, there needs to be space, physically, mentally, and culturally, for better conversations to happen. This step is about shifting the organization from pressure to permission. That means normalizing time for reflection and relationship building, not just task delivery. One simple but effective tactic is reviewing team rituals. Instead of meetings that focus only on updates, teams can create regular check-ins that prioritize trust, well-being, and curiosity. These don't require extra time, just a different intention. It's also about encouraging leaders to be more present and available, even in unstructured ways, so coaching behaviors start to spread informally. Rochdale Borough Council, a local authority in Greater Manchester responsible for public services and community well-being, introduced coaching habits to their leadership team. They noticed a clear gap between training and application. Managers were supportive in theory, but weren't consistently making time for coaching in practice. The shift came when leaders openly acknowledged this and committed to role modeling more reflective conversations, even during busy periods. That signal, combined with peer support and public follow-through, helped set a new tone across teams. There's also power in creating visible encouragement. Highlighting progress, celebrating small examples, and asking leaders to share their own efforts all help build momentum. People notice what's being reinforced, and they adjust their behavior accordingly. Embedding a coaching culture means making it easier to work better. Once the environment supports these behaviors, it becomes natural to align them with how performance is evaluated and developed. That's what the next step begins to shape. Make performance conversations worth having. Once coaching behaviors start to feel embedded in daily work, it's time to look at how they influence performance. Step 6 focuses on aligning performance management with a coaching approach, because when outdated systems stay in place, they quietly undermine the new culture. Traditional models are often tied to fixed cycles, generic forms, and uncomfortable review meetings. They feel forced, one-directional, and rarely meaningful. To make real progress, performance conversations need to reflect how people actually work and grow. This step is about moving from process to purpose. Rather than centering everything on ratings or backward-looking reviews, performance conversations should support growth, accountability, and better relationships. That means more frequent check-ins, honest feedback, and coaching-style questions that help people reflect and set meaningful goals. It also means focusing on strengths and development areas, not just outputs or compliance. Restore plc, a UK company specializing in data and asset management, used the shift to remote work as a chance to rethink performance management. They moved away from annual appraisals and introduced regular coaching-led conversations, supported by a digital platform. What started in one business unit quickly gained momentum as others saw the benefits. Instead of forcing adoption, leaders built interest through real use and visible results. The change made performance reviews feel more relevant, consistent, and people-focused. Practically speaking, organizations need to invest in developing feedback capability. That includes helping managers ask better questions, respond without defensiveness, and give feedback that's specific and actionable. It also involves supporting employees to reflect, speak up, and take charge of their own progress. When done well, performance conversations become something people look forward to, not because they're easy, but because they're useful. And once coaching behaviors are fully embedded in how performance is supported, the focus can move to keeping that culture alive long term. That's where the final step begins. Build the habits that keep culture alive. Once coaching becomes part of a workplace, the real test is whether it stays there. The final step, sustain, is about keeping the momentum going long after the early excitement fades. It's where coaching moves from being a project to becoming second nature. This means embedding the behaviors into everyday habits, systems, and relationships, and continually tending to them over time, even as teams grow and shift. A coaching culture isn't something you set once and forget. It needs regular check-ins, just like a workplace climate needs routine assessment. That includes feedback loops, short pulse surveys, and reflection questions that bring awareness to what's working and where things might be drifting. When that data is gathered and acted on, it shows that coaching is being taken seriously and that leadership is still committed. Asking how often coaching is happening, whether it's improving performance, and how it's being recognized can help ensure the culture stays alive, not just assumed. At the same time, leading by example matters. Managers need to walk the talk, modeling trust, curiosity, feedback, and reflection in how they work. Whether that's through visible coaching conversations, consistent performance support, or showing openness to feedback themselves, their example shapes how others behave. Time for regular reflection, even through something as simple as journaling, helps teams stay aware and aligned. PSS, a social enterprise in Liverpool, is a standout example of how to do this well. Known for its values-first culture, the organization made coaching part of everyday life, pairing internal training with digital tools, and embedding it into performance reviews and CPD sessions. Results speak for themselves. Confidence scores soared from 54% to 99% in just 2 years, and the impact was recognized nationally. Leaders actively supported the change, with senior executives becoming accredited coaches. By tracking progress, recognizing success, and reinforcing the behaviors that matter, organizations make coaching part of their DNA. That's how a good start becomes a lasting change. The main takeaway of this blink to No More Shit Managers by Joe Wright is that building a coaching culture isn't about grand gestures. It's about shaping everyday behavior through consistent, practical action. This means making space for honest conversations, encouraging regular reflection, and supporting leaders in developing stronger, trust-based relationships with their teams. Coaching becomes truly effective when it's woven into the way performance is developed, not treated as a separate initiative. With the right steps in place, people grow more confident, engaged, and motivated to take ownership of their development. Over time, these small shifts add up, creating a workplace culture rooted in trust, clarity, and high performance. And with sustained focus and consistency, that culture doesn't just emerge, it thrives. Okay, that's it for this blink. We hope you enjoyed it. If you can, please take the time to leave us a rating. We always appreciate your feedback. See you in the next blink.